I first met Butch Robins in person at IBMA in Owensboro, Kentucky, and that was back in 1994. But I had known about him since my earliest days as a bluegrass fan and a wannabe musician in my native Sweden. Over the years, we've done a number of shows together, me and Butch, in various constellations, including artists like Joe Isaacs, Stacy York, Danny Jones, Mike Compton, Junior Sisk, Bobby Hicks, Roby Huffman, Charlie Lawson, and the International Bluegrass Band, with members from the U.S., Holland, Japan, Ireland, Australia, and Sweden. Butch is a great storyteller, and I'm in the process of doing a series of interviews with him where he'll be sharing some of the experiences and insights he's gained over the years as a working musician, as an important stylistic banjo innovator, writer, recording artist, world traveler, and educator. In this first conversation that you're about to hear, Butch is talking about a variety of topics, including the changes show business has undergone in recent years. After that, there's like a quick CV talking about various bands that Butch has played with during his career. People like Charlie Moore, Snuffy Jenkins, and Pappy Sherrill, Wilma Lee and Stoney Cooper, Bill Monroe, Newgrass Revival, Leon Russell, and the Harry James Orchestra. I hope you'll enjoy this first episode with Joseph Butch Robins, Banjo Man.
It's a weird thing, y'all. It's a weird thing, the whole business of music and entertainment and everything else that's out there that goes along with it. It's the weirdest thing that ever was, I think.
What was your most stable gig? I mean, just like, what was mostly like anything like a day job, like playing with Harry James? Was that a pretty stable?
No, I mean, the gig only lasted a month at a time.
Okay.
You go out there 4 weeks, you play for 4 weeks, you go home. If they want to run, whoever the star of the show is wants to run the same show in the next quarter, I think the Harry James Phil Harris show was out there once each quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So they played there 4 times a year. If they were, the same act doing all the same thing, but they changed their front acts. I went out there as a part of one of the front acts and wound up, we were sitting right beside the bandstand, and the guitar player out of Harry James' band heard me playing in between shows one night down 2 flights down in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought his guitar down there, and I played Little Rock Getaway with him and a couple of tunes like that. He got off on it, and he told Harry James about that, so they moved me one seat to the left, so I was actually up on the regular part of the bandstand up there. Mm-hmm. I think I got to play Little Rock Getaway as a solo 3 or 4 times during the month. Mm-hmm. And where they had me come out front on the stage and play it and saying they'd never heard a banjo played like that before, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time, all I did was ending on Welcome to the Cabaret. I played a shave and a haircut ending on it for them.
So how big a band was that?
Oh shit, he had the full damn thing up there, horn section. It's like looking at one of the old Lawrence Welk shows on TV.
Yeah. So did you ever run into any people that play bluegrass out there?
No. A guy found an old tenor master tone banjo in a pawn shop while I was out there and bought it for $150, $200. It wasn't much anything. It was an old arch top of some kind, but still a master tone banjo. It'd probably be worth $3,000 or $4,000 these days.
Yeah. So but it wasn't really an area that would be.
No, they wasn't no bluegrass act had an act they could take out there.
Yeah.
You know, the best you'll ever see from anything come out of there that had any of the acoustic string band guys in is that Judy Lynn show that Hicks was on.
That was some good stuff.
He stayed with that show a long, long time. I mean, she was like a lounge act out there. She wasn't a main room act. They booked their main room acts in for a month at a time, and then, you know, wouldn't have them back for a while.
Right.
The ones you see that worked every night out there and everything, they were lounge acts.
Yeah. So what year was this, or what years did you say?
Shit, I don't know.
The Harry James experience. Was it before Monroe, or?
Yeah. When I went back to work for Monroe, you know, I wasn't like I was when I was 18 and he hired me. You know, I had never been away from my dad or anything else. I was just, you know, I was a freaked out young man when that whole thing happened. But the time I come back to work for him, I worked for Charlie Moore for about 6 months before I came out of the Army. Then almost a year after that, I went to Nashville right after that. Within 6 months, I fell into the bunch down at the picking parlor and everything else. And there was all kinds of work coming through those doors that I got just from people walking in looking for a banjo player, you know.
Yeah.
Got me on the Leon Russell session. I wound up getting drunk with the guy that was videoing or filming all that stuff. Wound up going out to Tulsa with him. Leon asked me to put together a band to go on tour with him as a front act, and I didn't want to put together no damn band. I called up Sam Bush and asked him if they wanted the job. You know, he told me I cleared it with Keith Case, got him out of it so he could. But I said the only kicker in it is you've got to take me along as a utility musician, because I ain't never been on no ride like this. I had never played for 50 to 75,000 people a night, you know, for 3 or 4 months. And I actually quit 2 weeks before the tour was over because I wound up having something to do with Jim and Jesse or somebody like that. I don't remember exactly who it was. Maybe the Whites. And then not long after that, I went to the Harry James thing. My dad, who didn't like lead guitar players, had heard Clarence White. So he told me about Clarence was the greatest thing since water, and I was going to go out to California and see if I could get up with him and Roland before I went back to Nashville. A week later, talked to my dad. My dad told me Clarence had gotten killed a couple of nights before. The next morning, Sam Bush called me up and said they were getting rid of Ebo. Would I come fill in for them for a while? Yeah. And that lasted for like a year and 3 or 4 months out there and everything, where I just, you know, I ain't a bass player, Jan. I don't have a feel for it. I'm not any good at it. I can thump out the damn notes, but I can't make the instrument talk, you know. So then I went away from that, went over around Touch Shop for a while, just picking over there. That was, and doing things with him and Norman. You know, just the first time I ever saw Mark O'Connor, he was 13. I went out to Bellingham, Washington, I think it was, right outside of Seattle there, and was a judge in the contest that they had. It was Tut, Vassar, Norman, and myself, and that's where I saw Mark. He won everything that there was in the park doing that day, and his mama come up to me and said, Doug Kershaw had offered him a job. And I said, ma'am, you ought to hold off on that right there. I said, why don't you give him a little more time, you know, to get in school and play a little bit more, bring him to Nashville. So when Marty, his mom's name was Marty, when they came down there, I got him in at the Opry and took him into Acuff's dressing room and introduced him in there, and from there he went, played in that Grand Masters contest, and hell, he may have won it that first year. He was really good.
Yeah.
But
I remember his first album. It was just amazing.
Yeah, he was really a great little old player. Anyhow, it was after that I went, let's see, Sam called, I went to work for them. When I got away from them, I had that. Oh, then Stoney Cooper come by a touch shop down there and told me, or not Stoney, but Tex Logan came by. He was friends with Stoney Cooper, had played with him years ago. And I had filled in for him playing bass with him somehow or another. Their banjo player had done something over at the Opry, and they wound up banning him from the Opry. Stoney needed a banjo player, but he, didn't want one that worked the Opry. And I wound up working this first 6 months with them, never having gone over there to the Opry House when they'd do their shows over there.
Yeah.
So anyhow, the thing all blew over, and I wound up going on later on. But
I know you're very fond of Stoney.
I was Stoney. Stoney was my favorite employer of all I ever had. It didn't matter how I played, or you or anybody else. When you come off that stage after a show with him, he would go shake every band member's hand, thank them for the job that they were doing. And they weren't making that much money back then and everything, but he was paying me. Back then, I think he was paying me almost twice what Monroe paid me.
Yeah.
When I went to work for him.
So how much would you get paid in Monroe's band?
I think when I finally left, I think he had gotten us up to $85 a day. I know at one point I spent 210 days on the road for him. I made $8,235.
Yeah.
And I bought my damn banjo while I was working for him too, and that's something I had to pay nearly 3 years on.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do that job with that old banjo I was playing. I mean, I couldn't hear the damn thing. I had Monroe's F5 right in my left ear, and Baker with that loud ass. I mean, those guys played, you know, Baker played smooth and had the best tone in the world.
Mm.
But he projected. I mean, he was loud.
Yeah.
When he played.
Yep. Yeah. And still had such a light touch, really.
Yeah. It's just, that's the same touch that this guy's telling you about up here. I'm trying to get this Oriental thing up here. There's a guy, his name's Sam Kephart, that plays the viola that's got the same touch that Kenny had.
Uh-huh.
He went to Juilliard right out of high school.
Yeah.
And when Greg Allman did his first his first solo album after Dwayne had died,
mm-hmm.
they did some of the Allman Brothers songs, and they replaced the slide parts that Dwayne had played with the string section. And that was Sam's first job out of Juilliard. He was part of that string section. He wound up going on about a 6-month rock and roll tour, you know, pitching or promoting that album around the country. When he quit that, he went to the Reverend Moon's orchestra, and the Korean guy used to marry 10,000 people at a time. He went from there to the Bolivian National Orchestra. He went from there to the New York Philharmonic, and he did enough work on Broadway. He was in the original cast of Les Miserables, but he gets around a $4,500, $5,000 a month pension check from the union right now because of the work that he did between the New York Philharmonic and the Broadway work that he did.
Wow.
And he's the one I want to play on that Oriental thing I was telling you about. I'm trying to the only thing about him is when you play a banjo around him, his left hand gets really, really busy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to teach him. I've tried to get him to listen to Baker, how Baker would just pull, you know, the double note chords behind the singer a lot. And, you know, he'd do the fills at the end of the lines, but most of the time he wasn't eating the singer alive, you know, with these lines. He was just playing a good smooth.
Yeah. You know, did you ever see Baker chop?
No.
Yeah.
No. That's one technique I don't know of him having. There were some of those things like Mule Skinner and some of those. I was just trying to match Monroe on those. I've got one tape from Hendersonville, North Carolina, that you can't pull the banjo and the mandolin apart in the rhythm section of that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I have that show. It's good. Yeah. What festival was it?
It wasn't a festival. It was just a show. An old boy, I think the guy's last name is Snyder, came up. He was doing the sound on the thing. And there were 2 tapes made. He had a tape recorder. He asked me if he could tape the show, and I said yes, if you'll run my tape recorder for me.
Oh, yeah.
And the way you tell the difference in the tapes, my tape ran out during the middle of Grassy Fiddle Blues. His ran a little bit longer and got the whole thing. So if your tape has got all of Grassy Fiddle Blues on it, I think the guy's name's Dave Snyder.
Yep, I know him. I know him, yeah. Well, the one I have ends in the middle of Grassy Fiddle Blues, actually.
Well, you've got a copy of the one that I had. I gave people copies of that all over the country. So. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to contact him and see if he can send me one. That would be cool. So, you said you were standing between Monroe's mandolin chop and Baker's fiddle. So that was a big sound.
Yeah, well, I'm standing behind my banjo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing my banjo so it comes in that cup between my ribs and my hip. That way, when it got heavy to me, I could stand. When I'd go to Union Grove, I used to play 12, 16 hours at a time. That damn thing would get heavy.
Yeah.
So that's why I lowered my strap. I quit wearing it up. You know, I started out trying to wear it like all them guys did, over one shoulder and holding that right shoulder up. And I found that was going to be uncomfortable as hell. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, I settled on a way where I can take both of my hands away from the banjo, and it just rests right there in the cavity between the lower part of my rib cage and my hip.
Yeah.
When I'm standing up. And that way, if the thing starts to get heavy on me, all I have to do is just lean back a little on it, use my hip like a fulcrum. And when I lean back, it takes all that weight the weight is no longer pulling me forward, so it's not a strain to hold it up.
Uh-huh.
But anyhow, the banjo's down there. I'm actually behind my banjo. You know, Baker's got the fiddle right in his face. He can hear everything he's doing.
Yeah.
If his fiddle were down belt level and faced out toward the audience, he wouldn't have been able to. He would have been like me. He wouldn't have been able to hear it.
Right. Yeah.
Especially with the guys that played as loud as those two guys did.
Mhm. I noticed with Baker, he would like move his head very quickly at times.
Hell, who knows? His mannerisms. The only thing I know about him, y'all, is he was the greatest guy in the world to travel with.
Yeah.
There was, you know, he and Wayne Lewis. You go out on one of them damn 30-day trips out on the West Coast. After you've been out about 2 weeks, people's nerves start getting frayed a little bit.
Yeah.
And the two of them kept some kind of bullshit going on all the damn time.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, if you ever started taking anything seriously or anything, they'd pull one of their little deals, and the next thing you know, everybody be laughing, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Did Monroe get pretty cranky?
Oh, he had his moments.
Yeah. And Butch did too, or?
Oh yeah, I did. I mean, I was as temperamental as any of them. The only thing about it is, I smoked enough dope. It was usually stay out of everybody's way, catch you the biggest buzz you can, get your ass to the back of the bus, get in your bunk, and lay there and read cowboy books.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Monroe used to say, catch me, I was saying, are you going to have to quit smoking that old stuff when you come out here to these gospel programs? I can smell it all over you.
Yeah.
I laughed at him.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so Kenny, I know you have a nickname for Kenny.
Yeah, Dooney Baker. Now old Dooney Baker was a mighty fine fiddler, but he had to make a living. He worked in the mines. Okay. After a few years, I say, something I had playing with, I say, Monroe heard him. He was playing for Don Gibson. He packed his bags, something about out of the radio station down there. He packed his bags and chased the dotted line. Young folks used to say he was too old for boogie, but every morning about sunrise, Goonie's fiddle been singing for 8 solid hours. There ain't another man who could carry him a light fiddle by.
Yeah.
And then the second verse was, I wouldn't be the one to want to spread a rumor, but I'd heard he drank a few in his time. I have seen him standing in the middle of a party. His fiddle and bow was like thunder and lightning. Young folks used to say he was too old for boogie, but every morning come about sunrise, Goonie's fiddle been singing for 8 solid hours. There ain't another man who can carry him a line to fiddle by.
So where did the name Goonie come from?
It was him running around. We got drunk down there in Chatham, Alabama one time. He was hung over the next morning with all of us hung over. Monroe wouldn't ride back with us ever, so, you know, we come back that night. I guess Randy didn't drink all that much. So he must have drove a bus back. The next morning was all hung up over and everything, and I heard somebody out in the parking lot, Goonie! Goonie! I went out there, what in the hell are you doing? He said, that's the way them Goonie birds used to sound on New Guinea when he was over there in the Second World War.
Yeah.
So he's like one of them Goonie birds.
Yeah.
So I started calling him Goonie Baker. And the rest of the band picked up on it. You know, even Wayne was calling him Goonie and everything. So, you know.
Yeah.
That was it. That was all there was to it. It's just him out in the parking lot hollering one morning.
Yeah.
Pouring down them damn BC powders, coffee, and cigarettes.
Yeah.
Just as hard as he could go.
Camel.
Yep. No, he was Lucky's. He was a Lucky Strike man.
Yeah.
Ain't that a pretty song, y'all? Ain't that a beautiful song?
Yeah, he got me hung on them damn Luckies when I was riding around with them in 1969. I went in the Army, I was smoking them damn things. First 2 or 3 days of running and everything else that I was doing, I started smoking filtered cigarettes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, y'all, I'm going to get off here tonight. Give me a holler back. I should be around tomorrow evening. Tuesday, I got doctor stuff during the day, but I should be back in here by 4 or 5 o'clock anyhow. So, you know, if you can hit me in the 7 o'clock range, you'd have a whole lot better luck with me.
Okay. Well, that was great. Thank you so much. And we'll talk again tomorrow then.
All right. Well,
okay,
you have
good
yourself
night.
a good evening, and I'll see you the next time I see you here.
Okay. All right. Take care. Good night. Thank you.